captain anyway with MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. And the 2008 year was when I had joined, and they had given, I was working with him, investigation type of information, and anyway, Stan and I were talking on the phone for years, back and forth, and on books, and he had a New York rep back then, but he was very sweet talking to me, and so he came and started this radio show that you're listening to now, TJ Morris ET Radio. And I don't have that in the beginning anymore. In the beginning, I was new to radio and how this worked, and mistakenly in the archives deleted some of our best shows. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, and so, but this is in tribute. He is retired now, and I haven't called him in a while, but I didn't get to go meet him because I wasn't going to conferences. My husband was sick, and I was a caregiver, and then my daughter, and I meant to go see him at where you used to live in Arkansas, the Dolores Cannon writing group and all their authors. And but I don't know if he went to Little Rock, but he did. He did retire, though. So if you don't know who we're talking about, folks, Stanton T. Friedman is the father of, I guess you'd say, UFO conferences, the UFO business with Don Berliner. And he really helped the claim of fame, wouldn't you say, to bring forth ufology into the mainstream and give the thrust with the back in the day.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I got a funny story about that. It's one of the Stanton shared
please, go ahead.
At that particular convention, Stanton shared this story, and he said, he kind of fell into the whole ufology thing accidentally, almost. You could say that. He said that he had joined a book club, and there was, and you had to get a certain number of books you could get free, to begin your membership. And he had picked out a bunch that he liked and really was interested in, and then he still could get one more, and he didn't know what to get, and he was just looking through the list of books, and he saw one about UFOs. And just on a lark, he decided he'd go ahead and add that one to his list. He got that book, and then as he read it, he said he was so fascinated by it, he had to look into it himself. And that's what really got him started into ufology, was just because of that book club, and he had to pick a book, another book, and that was what it was. So I just...
what year was that? Do you remember the year? He told me, and he told me that... Yeah, he told me the name of the book, and I actually was given a copy, one of the originals, and the cover had come off after I got it. And now I don't even know where it is, but it was I'll tell you what it was about, folks. He got hold of the book, and we'll have to have him back. We'll just have to say, Stan, I need you to come back, and let's get you one more time, please. I hope he still does it, but he's supposed to be retired. But it was about the gentleman before Project Blue Book. Gosh, do you know? Let me see if it's in UFO history. I'll pull it up. The book is somewhere. Remember, folks, I moved from Kentucky, those of you that know me, and I left my complete library, just like when I left Hawaii.
Oh.
I sold it to all the bookstores.
That was hard.
UFO history. But people like you and me, we know that Stanton Friedman deserves credit for getting this ufology started with Roswell and Jesse Marcel. Now, before that, of course, there was Arnold and Fate magazine. I never want to forget Fate. But I want to put our history back together to 47. But the book and the history, it goes back to Project Blue Book. But Kenneth Arnold, I guess you could say back in when the government started with modern UFO history, the UFO sighting by pilot Kenneth Arnold. But UFO Drum, Project Blue Book, there is a book written by a gentleman that said, hey, I was doing this stuff. And that's the one that he got hold of, and I'm it's escaping my mind. Anyway, when we think of history, don't we think of Richard Dolan now? and we need to go back
pretty
and
major
remember
nowadays. You're right. I keep trying to think. Right now, I think coming up next month, I believe, on the History Channel, they got a documentary series about Project Blue Book. And
really?
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. I've seen some previews for it, and it looks like it's going to be very good. So I'm looking forward to that. Why can't I remember? Unlike you, I can't remember the man's name. Darn it!
This is so embarrassing. We're getting old, folks. We used to have this off the tip of our tongue in our history, ufology and history, and this is how you looked me up because it was T.J. Morris ET, and we were discussing on a Saturday night UFOs, and I've got to find that Project Blue Book, but there's a gentleman that was in charge of the Air Force and doing it before J. Allen Hynek. Project Blue Book was inspired. Oh, you were trying to think of Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and I met him in the air. I met him.
Oh, wow, that's great. I'm glad you got
Yeah, before he died in '86. He found me, or I found him, but somebody, we'll say the Universal Order, put us on the same airplane or jet, and he walked by me, whether he was a plan or I was, or the government put us together, or the Men in Black. I've worked for all of those above. And he wanted to talk to me, so he asked me to come to the back of the plane. But at the time, J. Allen Hynek walked by me. He was just an old man with glasses, but it was before he died in '86. So I was in the military from '80 to '93, in and out of uniform and in and out of, I was chiefly Navy contract, but we won't go into my story right now. But the main thing is these people that came before in the books, I guess we're going to have to get Stan on here, but you were telling the story, so you're saying that in his history, like we're getting yours down tonight, hopefully, that he got started by accident as a book, and we have the Authors Book Club. I'm going to have to get we're going to have to get organized, Bill, with your open walk and bring all these subjects in. But let's keep the UFO biz in those stories, and also Mid-South Con, because from 13 on, Mid-South Con, that's Mid-South, which I never could get the name. And I know it meant something to all of us down here in the South, but the middle of the South and the conference, but it's 36 years. So we're all over the map, but it actually comes together with books, human stories, and the conferences for the authors, and to help them come together and be colleagues and help each other historically, and this literacy in the Mid-South, and Science Fiction Writers of America. All this came together at the Mid-South Science and Fiction Convention, and it became a 501 nonprofit corporation in the South. And Stanton Friedman was one of the first. Well, not one of the first, but he was the first to bring in the paranormal track, was he not? That's the way I understood it when they explained it to me.
Yeah. Prior to that, we hadn't really dealt much with that at Mid-South Con, and then he sort of opened the door for that at that convention. So the convention has primarily been about science fiction, fantasy, horror, and then by having him as the science guest that year, I think it was either in 2014 or 2012. I'm not exactly sure what year it was.
Who is the historian? Is there a historian? Because remember, you and I, they've changed the website even since you and I got involved with the Mid-South Con. That's in Mid-South Science Fiction Conventions. But anyway, there's so much to archive, folks, and that's why I have asked Bill back. He has a good memory, believe it or not. And he is a historian and an author, and he does have a philosophy. And I'm very excited to help everyone get to know us and all our social networks, and bringing in the UFO Secret Space and Chant Hannah Administrator. I may get her to come on here soon. So Bill will have to bring her on a Saturday night so you can get to know Chant. And she's very active and can actually teach administrators how to run social network groups on Facebook. And she actually has some awards for starting talks like we're doing, and we'll bring her on. But I can't find that book that I'll have to go to Stan Friedman's. Now, Stanton T. Friedman, folks, is we're giving tribute to him tonight here at the Opened Walk. I didn't know you were gonna help me do all this, but he is a physicist, lecturer, UFO researcher, and you got to hear him speak, and I never did other than in person on the phone, intimate conversations about writing books. And so the UFO world and books brought me to him, and then he was on this radio show. But you got to meet him in person and talk to him. And we're talking about a book that he read, and I'm going to find that book, folks. You need it. If you have any of you ufologists out there, or alienologists, or philosophers even that are into the, what would you say, mystics? You said handle it as metaphysics and spirituality, right? Not just the UFO challenge.
Yeah, well, that's my Open Walk book is dealing with it like that. From that point of view, it's kind of a spirituality and looking at it from a kind of metaphysicist point of view. But there is a lot of spirituality involved, even with the whole UFO phenomenon and the people who feel like they're interacting with aliens. There seems to be a spiritual connection there as well. And I remember when I first started coming to learn that, I was a little bit surprised. But the more you think about it, the more you look at it, the more you can see that there really is some kind of connection. There's a lot of people who feel like that in some ways extraterrestrials have guided us in our ideas of spirituality. And, there are those who believe that when you read about angels in the Bible, that they're really talking about extraterrestrials who were doing these things, who were, and it seems odd when you think about it. For instance, in that story where the angels came to Abraham and interacted with him and talked to him, it seemed like, as soon as he saw them, it was like there were beings walking along, coming up to him, and he knew immediately that they weren't human, and he knew immediately, to address them in a reverent way, and so it when you really read that and you think about it, it sounds like they might be talking about some kind of other beings from other than, and think about this too, by a literal definition, an angel isn't from Earth, so an angel is extraterrestrial, as in not from Earth. Extra meaning not, extraterrestrial meaning of Earth. So, in that literal sense, extraterrestrials and angels, that's describing the same thing. But in any event, there are those who believe that, and I don't really touch on that in the Open Walk, but we've sort of touched on it tonight, haven't we?
It brought us together on a Saturday night on this location and this channel, and whatever brings us together, because I've been having a lot of trouble, folks, getting to all the people that calling me. I can't. All of a sudden, I'm in this business of bringing ufology and alienology and extraterrestrials and angels together, and that's okay, but this, because I have the communication open channel now, all my channels are being overloaded. So I can almost not get with. We could tell a story or write a book just about tonight, trying to get back together, and we had Facebook open. Thanks to Facebook, we finally were able to talk. But my phones were either down or filled or back up, and I've got 4 numbers, and one came in the mail to me today, a brand new cell phone. So I'll have another phone number. I'll have 5 phone numbers now, all on consumer cellular. So it's a better price for people my age. I don't do a lot of the gaming and all the texting and all that. I can barely keep up with myself, much less all this, but I'm committed to the Ascension Center organization. And Bill M. Tracer found me here one night on our ET night, Saturday night, and he's helping me go back in our reminiscing back to we're taking an